search. That title search is very important. It's not enough, God bless the county, but it's not enough to go just to the county to get the information they have there. All they're going to do is give you what they have. The county is the depository for documents. They record them, they have them there for public record. They are not going to interpret them for you. That's what we do. We give you your title search, we let you know who's on title, because it's not important to, it's very important to know that it may have just been your grandmother on title, but it could have been your grandmother and grandfather. It could have been your grandmother and maybe your oldest sibling. These are things that would all shake out in the title search. Also, did your grandmother even own the house, or did the deed that you found with the will was simply an unrecorded deed? These are all things that need to shake out so you can get the proper information and take to one of the attorneys that are here with us so they can properly help you.
Again, take the answer from once we pass it over to an attorney, where we've now completed that title search that outlines who truly owned it at the time of grandma's death and what are your next steps.
Good afternoon, everyone, or morning. I don't know what we are at now. Thank you so much for being here. This is an important topic. As an attorney who practices in probate court regularly, we run into these issues all the time. So what happens when you find that will that says whoever was supposed to get the property, that will is only a directive. It does absolutely nothing for you when it comes to passing the home. When someone passes away with real estate in their name alone, and this is important, this is the rule of thumb, if it is in their name alone with no joint owner, it has to go to probate. I'm gonna repeat that again because a lot of folks don't soak it up. If it's in your name alone when you pass away, title cannot pass clearly to someone else unless it goes through the probate court first. So it does not matter if there's a will. So it's great that you have it, because once we get in probate court, we can tell the judge, okay, Bobo or Susu is supposed to get the property, but we still have to go through the process. So the first thing that we do when they reach out to our office is we have to collect information on who the heirs are, right? So if grandma passed and she had 12 kids and half of them are deceased, they have kids, we have a mess on our hands, right? A lot of people think, well, my cousin wasn't here in the last days, they never came to see about grandma, they didn't care. The law does not care about that. The law cares about how you're related to the person who passed. So that's a lot of what ends up happening when it gets to probate before we can even get back to these good folks at the title company to get them a clear title so they can close on the transaction and move on. So sometimes it's simple, you know, if your family can get along and we can go through the probate process, great, but sometimes there are fights and a lot of things can come up. Sometimes you're dealing with people who got divorced, right? And the deed never passed to the person who got the house in the divorce. So there's a lot of different things that can come through the process. But generally, when you open up an estate in whatever county that you live in, depending on the value of the house, you have to go the full process. There are no shortcuts. So there's a 4-month creditors period in Michigan where if grandma had a Home Depot card or wanted Macy's or whatever, fashion fair, wherever grandma liked to shop. If she has creditors, they have a time period that they can pop up and say, hey, I'm owed some money. And if you want to take the house, you certainly can't take the only asset of value out of the estate and not pay the bills, right? So that's another thing that you have to deal with. All estates in Michigan have to be open for 5 months for that reason, to allow those creditors to pop up. God forbid grandma went into a nursing home and was getting some care and Medicaid pops up and says, I want some money. So that's another thing. I know I'm rolling out a lot of problems, but the good thing is there are solutions for these things. Planning, getting an estate plan done, going and sitting down. Now that you are aware that these are all the different things that can happen, if grandma passes, it's not just as simple as calling the folks the title and getting the deed in your name. You can plan ahead. So before, if anybody has, and whether you're aging or not, because nobody knows what will happen to anybody at what time, right? So if you own real estate or you have a friend, family member that owns real estate, sit down before somebody gets sick, before they pass away, so that you can plan and you can avoid all these issues. And then these people can keep not having gray hair on their heads, right?
Sounds good. Thank you. I want to add to that, just so we can keep it going and we can hear from everyone. So we've gone through probate, we've gone through our 5-month period. We've gone through our 5-month period, and now we've been granted certain documents as the nephew, the daughter, the son, whomever, to be able to step into grandma's estate and handle the affairs of the sale. What does that look like? Probate documents, PR docs. What's next after that 5-month period?
Yeah. So the question is, how do you administer the probate estate? First things first, that's a duty. You may happen to be related to the decedent, to the person that's deceased, but a lot of times what I try to bring home, not a lot of times, all the time, that you have to separate it if you can, and that's why you have an attorney to help you out, your duties and roles and responsibilities of administering that estate. In Michigan, we call it personal representative. On TV and on all that other stuff, you call it the executive of the estate, right? And so there are specific duties that you have to perform and report to the court. Those duties include, when it's now time to take care of those properties. Number one, first things first of all, the realtors in here, and those of you, if you happen to hire a realtor to dispose of the property, you have to put that it's subject to the approval of the probate estate, right? Subject to the approval of the probate estate, even if you're not using an attorney or a realtor. It's very important. Number two, and I'm just going to tell you, you're not selling it. Sometimes I'll see these purchase agreements that says that I'm selling it. No, it's you and your capacity as the personal representative to the estate. Okay? And then last but not least, because I know we're moving on, we have some folks that sometimes says, well, I've been paying the taxes on it. So, I can pay your taxes. The only thing I need is your address. And that's a heck of a gift. But taxes does not convey ownership. Now, there are a few other things that we may be able to use where you become a creditor because you preserve the estate. The taxes does not convey ownership. If that were the case, I can pay your taxes right now and then show up and say, now I own the property. Right? I think I'm okay with that.
You're good with that. I appreciate that. So now what I would like to do is just wrap that up. We've gotten through the probate documents. We understand what our fiduciary role is as the personal representative. We've made it to the closing table. We've signed a contract. We've now sold grandma's home. The title company has cut a proceeds check to the estate of. The check does not go to you as the personal representative. It goes to the estate of. So I would like for one of these attorneys to tell us, one, why, and two, what happens once you receive that check. Have fun. Have at it, fun.
Well, again, the way I like to say it is grandma and granddad are still here on earth, right? They may be, in my belief, in the heavens, but their business is still here on earth. They still own that property. Those proceeds are then cut to the estate of Big Mama, right? Because then in that fiduciary responsibility as the personal representative, you now have to, and I won't give you the law, but you have to wait a certain amount of time to do the proper distribution. That's not your money. If that were the case, then just like Michael Jackson still owns things, right? Michael Jackson is somewhere. Believe me, Michael Jackson is still buying and selling things. All right? Prince, yeah, believe me. Elvis, right? And even these people that you know called Ford. Been gone a long time. Still does business, right? So the estate is essentially that person, for all it's worth, here on earth. And the personal representative is a fiduciary to do those things. So those monies, and to include those bills, are still owned by the estate until it's time to do proper distribution. And I'll say it this way, if there's anything left, then to the heirs. Some folks, again, we watch TV, you know, that's where we get our information from. You think, well, hey, I'm the brother, daughter, son, yeah, that's cool. But just like when they were living here, if they had bills and people they need to pay, and after those bills are paid and there's nothing left, then there's nothing to distribute. So the thought process is, when I speak with potential clients, are you ready to do the work of handling somebody else's business? Not so much if you're going to get something out of it. You may, but are you ready to do the work of administering somebody else's business? And of course, if you're not, then you hire an attorney to take their business. Thanks.
We have a few questions, but ideally what we would like to do is get through the panel. Oh, we have one other thing? Sure.
I want people to see these shoes. Remember that? What are those?
I keep it like this all the time. No, I was just going to make one point. People don't really appreciate or understand, but if you are one of this personal representative, that sale does happen. That sale does happen. Generally, you will have to get bonded, and that becomes an issue for some. Bonded is an insurance policy, and it means they're going to check your credit. Because if the money is coming in, now it's a liquid asset, and the court is going to say whoever is holding the money has to have an insurance policy. And so sometimes that becomes a challenge for some clients, but you do have to keep that in mind. We have this house we're selling for $200,000, $300,000. There's going to be a liquid asset. You're going to need a bond for $200,000, $300,000. So whoever is over the estate is going to have to be credit worthy, possibly have a job, possibly have, as we say, good credit.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Again, so it's stating, I know that we have questions. Our goal is to get through the panel for some of the things that we see that's related to what to do with Big Mama's home. This panel, the team here will be here after the duration of the event, so you can tag them or you can catch one of us title folks and ask us your questions on one-on-one if that's okay. Because we do have a few other topics I would like to cover. More importantly, Davin mentioned court approval, you were saying, as it relates to the restriction documents, the probate docs. Did you want to expound on that?
Not to move back too far, but when Boss was saying that, on the purchase agreement, you're going to be listed as the representative of the estate, and that purchase agreement is going to be subject to court approval. That court approval, depending on the county, especially Wayne County, is not days, not weeks, sometimes months. So you need to understand that as a buyer, there could be a lot of time that you have to wait. Or as a seller, there's going to be some additional work you're going to have to do, because we need to see that document as a title company. It's not enough to have a court date. It's not enough for us to know we're going through it. We need it, and then we need a certified copy to receive it.
Thank you, Davin. So now we've talked about Big Mama's home. Big Mama left, and we're honoring her wishes or her directive instructions as what to do with her home. But let's go back. Let's talk about, for the panel, Big Mama is alive, but she's taken ill. So now someone had to step up and become the guardian or guardianship over Big Mama. What does that look like? We can come back